Recently, the Formula One management announced that they have extended the contract with the Miami Grand Prix to 2041. What the actual f***? At the same time, we have classic tracks on rotation and European races being removed from the calendar. The prices of tickets are skyrocketing, and even the cost of getting F1 at home has gone up. I've done loads of research, looked at a few things that happened in the past, and I think I found out why this is all happening. I'm Wimbo. Here's 3 seconds to leave a like. The FOM has a financial model that sees circuits pay hosting fees to have the Formula One circus at their tracks. The FOM, under Liberty Media, has been pushing circuits in regions willing to pay substantial hosting fees, especially in the Middle East and the US. They don't care that it's in the middle of a desert, in a country with barely any racing history. In the case of Jeddah and Bahrain, the organizers seem to love street tracks even if the current cars, and probably the next cars too, are way too big and heavy to have good racing on street tracks. The huge oil companies pay to promote their products, and as fans we should just accept it. And we actually do. We, loyal fans, make the best out of these races, and some of them have a certain charm, I'm not gonna lie. Night races, fireworks, it all makes things a little bit better. America is the new market after the success of Drive to Survive. So we have 3 races there: Miami, Austin and Las Vegas. I've heard about a 4th race coming to Chicago too, but that may be just rumors. I suppose the US is as large as Europe, so to give people a chance to see a race, there needs to be a race on every coast. And I get that too. It's Liberty Media itself that hosts the Grand Prix in Las Vegas and Miami, something they never used to do before. So Miami is locked until 2041, I'll be 64 by then. What age will you be? Bahrain until 2036 and Jeddah until 2030. At the same time, the race in my country, the Netherlands, will see 2 more races and then it stops. So people, if you have the chance, visit the Zandvoort Grand Prix, as it won't come back soon. This was a mutual decision, as they host the Grand Prix without help from the government, whereas those races in the desert receive heavy funding. A classic track that every single driver loves is Spa. Unfortunately, that race will be rotated, so there will be no races in 2028 or 2030. This shows the FOM strategy to balance historic tracks with new venues. Spa has been struggling for a while now in their old facilities, and they also don't get the funding that the US and the Middle East races get. Imola is another track that will most likely disappear from the calendar. F1 CEO Stefano Domenicali said that it was hard to have 2 Italian races annually, and suggested that Imola may be dropped or rotated. Monza has a deal until 2031, but they have to invest in the track to sort out a few things. So it's clear that the organizers want to secure as many financial benefits as possible. This is why ticket prices go up. TV rights are being sold for a fortune, and tracks pay hefty fees, and if they can't, they get replaced. The reason why they're doing this can be traced back to what happened in 2008 and 2009. We all remember the most recent major financial crisis, the global financial crisis of 2007-2008, triggered by the collapse of the US housing bubble, subprime mortgage defaults, and excessive risk-taking by financial institutions. It led to widespread bank failures, a global recession, and significant job losses. Okay, I googled that. It's clear it was a big mess worldwide, and it had an effect on Formula One as well. Back in 2008-2009, the financial crisis crushed teams like Honda, Toyota and BMW, who bailed when car sales tanked and sponsors vanished. On December 5th, 2008, Honda announced the immediate withdrawal from F1. They blamed the economic crisis, and they said they needed to focus on their main businesses first. The team was left without money for 2009, putting 700 jobs at risk. Team principal Ross Brawn led a management buyout, securing the team's assets for £1. Rebranded as Brawn GP, and the team used customer Mercedes engines, and then they won the 2009 Drivers and Constructors Championships on a shoestring budget. On November 4th, 2009, Toyota announced its withdrawal from F1, citing severe economic realities and the need to focus on recovery. The decision ended its F1 program abruptly, leaving the Cologne-based facility and staff without a racing project. On July 29, 2009, BMW announced it would exit F1 at the end of the 2009 season to focus on strategic realignment and cost saving. The decision was framed as a response to economic challenges. BMW sold the team back to founder Peter Sauber, who continued as Sauber F1 with Ferrari engines in 2010. The team operated on a reduced budget, as most teams had to do after the financial crisis. Sauber later evolved into the modern stake F1 team, soon to be Audi in 2026. Super Aguri was a Honda sister team that withdrew from F1 on May 6, 2008, after failing to secure new investors or sponsorships. The team ceased operations mid-season, unable to compete in the Spanish Grand Prix or beyond. This was a bad time for Formula 1 in general, and the sport got hit in many ways, not just teams and manufacturers leaving. The sport managed to keep 10 teams on the grid, as the Concord Agreement states, but it was a wild time for the sport, and I think they want to prevent a scenario like that at all costs. Now, seeing what's happening in the world today and how long it's been since we had a big financial crisis, it's not too far-fetched to say there's one coming soon. I stay away from politics as much as I can, and F1 is my way of escaping things. But for this video, I'll allow it a little bit. The reason why I think there's a crisis on its way is not just because it's been a while. At the moment, global debt levels are on the rise worldwide. And there's this thing going on with the trade and tariffs at the moment, thanks to a certain orange man in the US, and the stock markets are under pressure and extremely volatile. In my research, I read that a crisis is predicted by Bloomberg and an expert called Harry Dent. Now, if you're a financial expert, let me know what you think. In any case, the financial systems we have are more fragile than we think. If it all goes tits up for a while, it could have a major impact on Formula 1, and that's not what we want to see, right? So what the FOM is doing with these new venues, which pay the most, and with the historic tracks that struggle, is just to secure the durability of the sport itself. They organize the cost cap to give smaller teams a chance to catch up, and this will prevent those teams from dropping off the grid when things go wrong. It's believed that even the smallest teams can run a profit with these new financial regulations. And if a team like Haas would struggle, they can easily grab $600 million and sell it off to Toyota. I believe this is something Gene Haas is going to do because his main business isn't going so well right now. In any case, having a financial healthy sport is better than struggling to have 10 teams to compete in the sport, which was an issue during the crisis in 2008. Zak Brown warned in 2020 that a prolonged crisis could sideline up to 5 teams. He suggested that the FOM is aware of the economic vulnerabilities. Securing long-term deals with financial secure promoters looks to be a proactive measure. One thing I know about Zak Brown is that he's good with money. He has every centimeter of the MCL 39 covered with sponsors. He's a clever guy. As you can tell, I'm playing devil's advocate here, defending the FOM for the horrible decisions they're making. I honestly wish they would make tickets cheaper so we can have full stands in every venue. Seeing those empty chairs reminds me of Bernie Ecclestone once saying he doesn't want young people being fans of the sport because they don't buy Rolex watches. Visiting races used to be for the elite only, and poor people would watch at home. Things are going that direction again. I wish the classic tracks would stay. Some of them really belong on the calendar. Missing out on Eau Rouge in Spa is a crying shame, and getting more and more street tracks is also not what we as fans want or the drivers want. But it is what it is. I hate where all this is going, to be honest. But Formula 1 is playing the long game, even if it's at the cost of its wonderful heritage. Let me know what you think. Subscribe. Take care now. Doei doei.